Morning Leadership. 8 mentoring sessions you can't afford to miss. The 7th Monday, Buckets and Dippers. I arrived at Tony's promptly at 8:30 a.m. He greeted me at the door. "Jeff, how are you today and how was your week?" he said, guiding me into the library. "Did you make any progress filling your open positions? And how about your time management? Did you find any places where you could spend your time better? And of course, I want to hear how the team is going." I had spent the weekend looking forward to our Monday morning conversation. Last week was a much better week. Kim and I completed the interviewing and made job offers to the best 3 candidates, I said. 2 of them accepted and start in a couple of weeks. 1 person turned us down and decided to stay at his current company. I was going to offer the job to our next best candidate, but Mark, one of my superstars who helped interview, said the next best candidate didn't fit well with our current team. He suggested we keep looking for a more qualified candidate. Since you said to hire tough and never lower my standards, I asked Kim to begin the process of finding the right person for a last open position. And yes, I'm really excited about the 2 new team members. I also tried several of your time management tips. I kept a log of where I was spending my time and discovered I was spending a lot of time on things that were important. I also found one particular person in our office interrupted me at least 6 times a day. I showed her my log of how many times we were talking to each other in a day. She couldn't believe she called me that often. So we made a deal to talk at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. only. I guess you would call that batching. I also cut our weekly team meeting time in half. We normally allow an hour for our meeting, and we seem to go the full hour, whether we need to or not. This week I said we needed to cover everything faster and be finished in 30 minutes. Well, you know what? We did it. We started with our most important items and finished them all. That gave everyone on the team an extra 30 minutes that day, which we used for uninterrupted planning. We wanted to test your theory that we could accomplish in 30 minutes of uninterrupted time that would normally take us 90 minutes to do while being interrupted. The theory worked in reality. Some of my cynical troops weren't sure that we accomplished in 30 minutes what normally took us 90. But everybody agreed that we at least doubled our productivity in those 30 minutes. That's a good deal. See, Tony, I was listening to you, and those were some great ideas. I do feel like I'm more in control of my time now, but I still have a way to go. I also bought a book on time management to read when I find the time. "So you're now a comedian?" Tony chuckled. "You did make some great choices last week. It sounds as though the new people have the talent and desire to be on your team, and you made some better choices in how you spend your time. Good job. Now, if I were you, I would approach Chad and Jenny about your open position. You already know they're superstars and will fit with your team. You may have to swallow your pride when you ask them to come back, but I think it's a good idea. Look in your spiral notebook at the notes you made when you called to Chad and Jenny. They mentioned 3 things that were expected from you. What were they?" "Well, let's see," I said, leafing back to the front of the book. "They said they needed me to hire good people, coach every member of the team to become better, and dehire the people who aren't carrying their share of the load." "Is that what you were asking?" "Yes," Tony said. "And how have we done in those 3 areas?" "I think I've made great progress in hiring other good people to be on the team," I answered. "Tony, you've taught me well, and I'm now hiring tough." Kim also was a great support throughout the process, and I really feel good about the 2 new people who are coming on board. As far as coaching every team member to become better, I think I've made a little progress. and paying more attention to the superstars and middle stars, but I really haven't focused very much on coaching my good performers. Of course, I had to dehire Todd. Amazingly, I thought he was a superstar until I found out others on the team were covering for him. I guess that just proves I was spending too much time in management land. Before I began more dehiring, I need to better define my expectations and ensure that the proper training and tools are in place. Through this entire process, I discovered that the performance reviews I've been giving don't accurately reflect performance. So I have a lot of work to do in the dehiring area. Well, Jeff, it sounds as though you're at least making progress in addressing the 3 things Chad and Jenny suggested. Great job, my mentor said encouragingly. For the remainder of our time today, let's focus on how you can coach every member of the team to become better. Now, I'm not talking about performance improvement sessions. I'm talking about recognition of and communication to everyone on the team. A few weeks ago, we talked about a place called management land and how sometimes we get caught up in things happening in management land while we overlook important things on the team. Here are 2 facts you should never forget regardless of your title or position. 1. Your scorecard as a leader is the result of your team. You are needed, you are important, but you get paid for what your subordinates do, not necessarily what you do. 2nd, you need your team more than your team needs you. Don't get me wrong, you need each other, but cumulatively, the 17 people on your team accomplish much more than you do. First, what percentage of the work that needs to be done is getting done while you're here with me this morning? As always, Tony's questions went right to the heart of the issue. I think they're probably getting about 95% of the work accomplished, even while I'm not there, I admitted. Okay, I would agree. 95% is probably an accurate number. Some of your people may say 105%. They get more done while you're away. Maybe so, but let's go with your 95%. Now let's suppose your 17 people were here with me, and you were the only one left at the office. What percentage of the work would be getting done then? He asked. Not much. I would probably get about 10% of the work done, I responded as honestly as I could. So your team is accomplishing 95%, and you can only accomplish 10%? Then who needs who the most? Obviously you need each other. But never forget that your job is to help each team member become better at the job they've chosen. They have entrusted a portion of their life to you, and it's your job to help them grow, personally and professionally. So, you need to do everything you can to help them become the very best. Follow me on this analogy. Every person has a bucket of motivation. That bucket can be filled to overflowing, or it could be empty and desperately need filling. Sometimes the buckets have leaks, and those buckets lose motivation as fast as you can try to motivate. Every person also has a dipper. In fact, some people have these great big long dippers that enjoy putting into other people's buckets. Their dippers represent cynicism, negativism, confusion, stress, doubt, fear, anxiety, and other things that can drain someone's desire and motivation. As a leader, your job is to keep everyone's bucket filled. You are the chief bucket filler, and the best way to fill buckets is with excellent communication. In fact, there are 4 things you have to do if you're going to keep your team members' motivation buckets full. First, a full bucket requires knowing what are the main things that are important to doing a good job. We talked about this before, and you and your team have now identified the main things. But if people don't know what the main thing is, their motivation buckets will leak like a bucket full of shotgun holes. A leader with focus and direction fills buckets. A leader who creates confusion and inconsistency has a dipper that drains people's buckets. Second, to keep buckets filled, you need to provide the bucket holders with feedback on how they're doing. You may think a performance appraisal will keep a bucket full, but it won't. Performance appraisals may fill a bucket for a short period of time, but the bucket will have leaks in it after a few days. Don't get me wrong, performance reviews are important and necessary to document performance, but they don't provide long-term motivation. People need to know how they're doing all the time, not just as performance review time. But here's a warning. You can have great intentions to fill buckets and yet be draining buckets if you don't follow the rules of effective feedback. Be sincere. If you're not sincere about your feedback, people will see through you like a crystal glass. Insincere feedback is a great big dipper into someone's bucket. To fill buckets, your feedback has to be specific. If you're not specific with your praise, the bucket will not fill up. Why? Because the bucket holder will tip over the bucket while scratching his or her head, wondering what you're talking about. Feedback must be timely. The more time you want to fill the bucket, the more other people's dippers will get into the bucket. Then you'll have to work twice as hard to fill it back up. Feedback must be aligned with the receiver's value system. Don't try to fill someone's bucket with something that's important to you, but not to them. Bucket filling is in the eye of the bucket holder, not the bucket filler. The third thing you have to do to keep your team members' buckets filled is to let them know you care about them and the job they do. There are a gazillion ways to show you care and fill your team's buckets. Of course, the paycheck they get fills their bucket, but the buckets will dry up. If you only bucket fill on days that you hand them a paycheck, find those bucket fillers that work best with your team, and then use them to fill their buckets often. Here are a dozen ways to show your team members you care about them. They seem to work well for other bucket fillers, I know. Involve people in major decisions. Listen to them. They often have the best ideas anyway. Memorize facts about the bucket holder and their family. People enjoy sharing what's happening in their families. Let them fill their own buckets while you listen. Make coffee for your team. Making coffee is a pretty simple act that people appreciate. It's an easy bucket filler. Send thank you notes to team members at home. People normally only get bills and junk mail at home. A positive note of recognition goes a long way to filling a bucket. Send a bucket holders a Thanksgiving card. The success is dependent on them. Who else at work would you be more thankful for? Ask your superstars if they're interested to become mentors for middle stars or falling stars. This is a win-win. Everyone's buckets get filled. Keep a camera close by to record significant bucket filling events. Plant a tree on company property in honor of your team. Create a library of books, tapes, and magazines and keep it current and well stocked so team members can fill their own buckets. Create a wall of fame with pictures of your team members and their families. Follow the platinum bucket filling rule. Treat people the way they wish to be treated. Spend time with all your team members. Sometimes simply being around and showing that you care about them will automatically fill their buckets. The fourth and final bucket filling requirement is for the team to know how well it's doing as a team. Everyone wants to be on a winning team. Make sure team members consistently know whether the team is accomplishing its objectives or not. If you will fulfill the 4 bucket filling requirements, know the main things. Give feedback on performance, provide recognition for doing a good job, and communicate the team score. Your team members will be asking you what they can do to help fill your bucket. That's the way it works. The more buckets you fill, the more your bucket is filled. Tony glanced at his watch. Well, once again, your time is up. So what are you going to do before next week? Several things. First, I'm going to call Jenny and Chad to see if they're interested in returning to the team. I'm going to share with them the changes I'm making and will continue to make to become a better leader. I really like your bucket filling analogy. In fact, I'm going to share it with my team. If we keep our dippers out of each other's buckets, I think we can all be more motivated, productive, and happy. I may even give them a bucket and dipper to drive home the analogy and have some fun, I said. Great, Jeff, and good luck with Jenny and Chad. I hope that works out well for you. Next week is our last session. We'll spend our time talking about you and what you can do to accomplish your personal goals. I look forward to seeing you then. Fill lots of buckets. 4 ways to fill buckets. 1, know the main things. 2, give feedback on performance. 3, provide recognition. 4, communicate the team score. The more buckets you fill, the more your bucket is filled. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.